Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Sam will be back tomorrow. We're very happy this morning to welcome for his first visit to Nevada Newsmakers, Senator John Ensign. Senator, thank you so much for being with us.
Well, good morning.
Now, unlike state legislators, being a senator is your full-time job now,
yes.
Right? But prior to that, you were a veterinarian. Am I saying that correctly? Veterinarian.
There you go. There you go. I hear it both ways from veterinarians.
Okay. All right. So I want to ask you about what happened in Las Vegas over this last weekend, where Roy was suddenly attacked by this white tiger that he'd had 7 years, 6 years, something like that, and it suddenly turned on him.
Well, they're dealing with wild animals. These are not domesticated animals, even though they're relatively domesticated because they've had years and years, they're hand raised and been around humans. They still have the potential, especially even if they're just playing. Their playing can be to us very deadly, and they're incredibly powerful animals. And you know, Roy was one of the best in the world at dealing with them, but unfortunately, even with the best, bad things can happen.
Well, they can wake up and be grouchy in the morning too, like we are sometimes.
A bad day to them, though, makes a really bad day for us.
Okay, now you are aware of how this can be a problem. You have introduced a bill.
Yeah, and I didn't introduce it because of this. I had introduced it
back in July.
Months ago. Basically what our bill says is that it's illegal to transport these exotic big cats interstate unless you are licensed. And by the way, the Siegfried and Roy were licensed. They were the type of people that had shown they had the proper training. But you cannot believe how many people want to have a tiger or a lion for a pet. And they are not good pets. And even with the most experienced person, as we've just seen, horrible things can happen. And what happens to these large cats is that people think that they're cuddly. They see the Siegfried and Roys of the world, and they look cuddly, they look fun, and they see them wrestling with them and playing with them. But what happens in real life is that these animals, accidents happen, something sparks the behavior, the person gets attacked, and then the big cat either is put down or is taken away to one of these animal rescue places, and these animal rescue places are totally overburdened, or they're put in a zoo, and most of the zoos don't even have enough display places. So if you go to the back of most of these zoos, they're basically just stuck in cages all day, and it's a terrible mistreatment of the animals. Plus, it's very dangerous to people, and so that's why we're trying to put a stop to this abuse of the big cats.
Now, the Humane Society asked you to bring this legislation.
Yeah, we've because of my experience as a veterinarian and seeing some of these things in real life, the Humane Society and I have been working together. We've actually gotten the bill now passed through the Agriculture Committee, and we're just looking for a vehicle to be able to attach it to this fall.
Okay, so we hope this fall, and perhaps this accident, as tragic as it is, might give some push to moving this legislation?
Yeah, this legislation isn't opposed by anybody as far as any significant opposition, and so moving it through should be relatively easy. It may have been ignored before. I don't think it'll be ignored now.
Right, okay. Now, you are here for a fundraiser tonight, so would you like to tell us, are you going to run for re-election to the U.S. Senate?
Well, we're preparing for it. We fully expect to run for re-election in 2006. I don't think you go into these offices, thinking, well, just one term and out. Some people may, but as long as I'm still enjoying it and feel like I'm making a difference and really passionate about it like I am, I fully plan on running for re-election in 2006.
So you're not going to run for governor?
I had said that you never say never to anything, but 99 point whatever % sure that I'm not running. I have no plans whatsoever to run for governor, and I love doing what I'm doing right now, and I feel like I'm helping the people of the state of Nevada right where I am.
All right, Senator, I'm pretty knowledgeable in politics here in Nevada, and I've been racking my brain, and frankly, I can't think of a Democrat who would run against you. In fact, I can't even think how they would get funded, since gaming tends to back the Democrats, and I know gaming's going to be backing you. Can you think of anybody? If you had to come up, if you were a Democrat and had to come up with a candidate to run against you, who would you choose?
I hope they won't choose anybody, but we know that that's unrealistic. What's been happening in recent years is you usually get somebody that's made a lot of money, either a rich trial lawyer or something like that, that comes out of the woodwork, that self-funds their campaigns. This is happening literally all over the country, where multimillionaires are putting 3, 4, 5, and even John Corzine in New Jersey spent $70 million of his own money to win a Senate seat. So there will be a candidate. You know, we know that, so that's why you always have to, you know, raise your money, keep your volunteers, you know, up, keep your volunteer base up, and be ready for a tough race. I think that we can all learn the lesson that Harry Reid talks about. He took me too lightly in '98 and almost got beat, and I think that if you ever take a person lightly, get yourself in that position, that's when you will get beat.
Do you like the Senate more than you like the House?
Well, the reason I went to the Senate is because you can make a bigger difference in the Senate. In the House of Representatives, even on an influential committee like I was on, the Ways and Means Committee, it was a great committee to be on, the most powerful committee in the House of Representatives. Even from that committee, you're still very limited on the number of issues and the kinds of issues that you work on. In the Senate, even though you still work a lot of issues in committee, you can also get involved in any issue that you want to get involved in. I was a leader on the medical malpractice reform bill. I was one of the leaders on the prescription drug bill for Medicare, and those are issues that really have a little bit of jurisdiction in my committees, but most of the jurisdiction is in other committees. But yet I become one of the leaders simply because of showing passion and knowledge on those particular issues.
Okay, we're going to take a break now. When we come back, nuclear waste and more medical malpractice.
Hi, I'm Dan.
And I'm Terry.
And this is Dan's Pizza and Parlor. Everything we make here is from scratch. Our fresh cut fries, homemade hamburgers made to order, fresh pizza dough made with 3 types of flour, and Terry's secret pizza sauce, and Dreyer's world famous ice cream. And if you have a sports team, your kids can really have a great time here. Oh! Dan's Pizza and Parlor on Victorian Avenue, just down the street from Great Basin Brewery next to Pyramid Highway.
Would you like to savor a Trento pork chop? Or maybe pasta rags with grilled chicken? Hugo's Tuscan Grill at DeAndrea is a celebration of color, flavor, and freshness. Each dish is created from natural, wholesome foods that is delicious and nutritious. Hugo's is a comfortable restaurant with breathtaking city views. If you enjoy great food and good company, visit us here at Hugo's. It's the best that dining can be. 2900 South DeAndrea Parkway in Sparks.
Welcome to Sushi Club, best sushi in town. The Sushi Club in Independence Square uses the best quality products. The sushi is dynamite, and the service is just wonderful.
The Sushi Club is bigger and better. We have 11 sushi chefs on staff, and the service is great.
All your friends will tell you that Sushi Club is the best place for the best sushi.
Come join us for lunch or dinner.
The Sushi Club, 294 East Moana Lane in the Independence Square.
Now that's great sushi.
To experience the royal cuisine of India, you need some serious magic or simply transport yourself to India Garden, right here in Reno, where you'll discover Indian specialties refined over centuries. Sikh kebab, tandoori dishes cooked in our own tandoor oven, biryani specialties, curries, fresh-baked Indian bread, over a dozen vegetarian dishes, even dishes rare to India like dosa, South Indian-style crepes. India Garden off South Virginia near Sports West. We are India.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers with Sam Shad and Andy Engleman.
Welcome back to Nevada Newsmakers. We're here with our guest today, Senator John Ensign. We touched briefly on medical malpractice, and that's been an issue here in Nevada also, and there's going to be actually a ballot question on our next election here in Nevada. What are you doing at the federal level?
Well, we're trying to enact national legislation because, remember, the federal government now pays 60% of all medical costs between veterans, the VA health care, between Medicaid and Medicare. 60% of all medical bills are now paid by the federal government, so it is a national issue. And it's also literally has reached a crisis stage in 25 states. So Nevada is not alone. There are many other states out there. This is not about doctors versus lawyers. This is really about access to medical care. We're losing too many many OBGYNs that aren't delivering or limited on the amount of babies that they're delivering. We have orthopedic surgeons who and specialists, especially the real technical people, that people with the highest types of training are having trouble getting insurance, or it's so expensive that they can't afford it. So they're leaving practice, they're leaving our state, they're going to other states like California that have had medical malpractice reform already enacted and been on the books long enough to stabilize their insurance rates.
All right, Senator, there have been some stats released recently that show not that many doctors actually left Clark County. And the way the insurance works in our state, if they had moved just to Nye County and put in a fast train or something, their insurance would have dropped to a third of what it was in Clark. It was only Clark County where it was so high.
Well, that's because that's where most of the doctors are. But the other thing that you have to remember about those stats about people not leaving, for instance, I'm still licensed as a veterinarian in California and Nevada.
Okay.
I didn't leave my license. In other words, when doctors leave the state, they don't give up their license. And that's what they looked at. They looked at, did they give up their licenses? Well, none of them give up their licenses, so it doesn't look like any of them have left, even when they've stopped practice. That's why these numbers were so skewed, and that story really has not been told, is that, you know, somebody stops practicing, they're still going to keep their license because they want the option of being able to come back if things change.
All right, now what kind of cap are you talking about? Because sometimes the cap seems to be much too low for what's happened to somebody.
Well, remember, it's first of all, if something happens to you, there's no cap. You should never have a cap as far as if it's happened to you. But we have to look at what's happening to our overall healthcare system. And your options are really between having doctors there at all with a reasonable cap. In other words, if we have a cap on it, we'll be able to keep our doctors because we'll be able to keep the insurance rates low enough where they can afford to do business and where they won't leave our state, or they won't just leave practice altogether. So having a reasonable cap, and we think that having all your medical expenses covered, having any economic damages, in other words, if you're say a veterinarian and you are not able to practice anymore, whatever lost wages you would have had for the rest of your life, you can get those. And plus a $250,000 cap on pain and suffering, that's the types of caps that we're talking about. That seems pretty reasonable.
Well, Senator,
to me.
what if it's something that totally disfigures you, but there's no economic loss?
Well, if it's most of the time, first of all, if it's total disfigurement, it's going to have an economic loss. But you still have all of your medical bills covered. Like I said, there is no value. It's difficult to put any kind of a value on that. The bottom line is we have to get rid of the frivolous lawsuits that are out there, and so many of them are.
Don't we also have to get rid of the bad doctors? Absolutely.
We need to do a much better job of policing the medical profession. But here's another problem that people don't understand. On the medical boards, they're afraid of going after the bad doctors because of lawsuits. So, because they could be personally held liable if they take somebody's livelihood away, and it would, the burden that would be on them then to prove that they were, what they did was the right course of action, but they don't want that risk of being sued. So there's the fear of lawsuits causes all kinds of bad things. I'm actually I can
see now we could debate this for the whole half hour.
Well, it's because it's a very important issue and a very complex issue. The bottom line is the system we have today is broken and we need to fix it.
All right, before we run out of time this segment, I remember when you filed for office, I was covering you for the news at the time, and I said to you, what can one senator do as far as nuclear waste is concerned? Mm-hmm. What have you been able to accomplish? What do you hope to accomplish?
Well, the first things that we did, and we worked in this, saying one senator did it would be a lie. I mean, we worked as a team back there. Senator Reid and myself in the Senate, and then Congressman Gibbons, the rest of the delegation in the House, all working as a team. We were at least able to kill the interim storage bill, which would have brought nuclear waste to Nevada already. We'd already have it here. So we were able to kill that bill. The permanent repository, the Yucca Mountain, obviously passed, and we actually got really close on that. As a matter of fact, when we got close, the White House heard that we were getting close to the votes, and they weighed in very heavily, and they were able to turn the votes that we had originally had committed to us, and that was kind of one of those last-minute things that you find out as a senator that you don't have nearly the influence that the White House has, and it was very disappointing. But you have 43 other states that want to get rid of nuclear waste, and they want to ship it to one state, and that's pretty much what happened. Now we're down pretty much to the licensing, and a lot of it's the legalities now. You know, can we win this in court? Our lawyers tell us that we are going to win this in court. I'm very skeptical. Senator Reid and I talk about this all the time, and anytime they tell you for sure we're going to win, that always, you know, makes you a little nervous. But there are other things that we can do, and that's one of the places that I'm spending most of my efforts, looking for alternatives to burying it in Yucca Mountain. What are the alternatives? Recycling technology. Let's recycle the waste instead of burying it, and we've actually gotten a lot of money into the research for recycling nuclear waste, and that really, I think, is the direction for the future of our country for energy needs as well as taking care of nuclear waste.
Okay, we have to take a break now. We're just about out of time. When we come back, the president, politics, and the economy.
Before you head to Carson, take care of yourself with a visit to Tamarack Junction. Catch a hot cup of coffee and the morning news on one of our 32 TVs and enjoy the best food in South Reno. Tamarack Junction, your junction for fun. South Virginia and Amati Ranch Parkway.
The Abowed family has an appetite for dialogue. Agree or disagree, have the conversation. All opinions are welcome. Since 1977, Adele's.
Today's lesson, another reason to take the Gold Rush Club Card Challenge. With the Gold Rush Card, you really have 3 cards in one. Use your cash back. You still keep your comps and drawing tickets. Use your comps. You still keep your cash and drawing tickets. And with your drawing tickets, you could win thousands in cold hard cash every week. And still keep your cash back and comps. Does your club add up? Graduate to the Gold Rush Players Club. It's the smart thing to do. The Gold Dust West, south on Keystone, east on 4th.
Sign up for Wells Fargo free checking. You get more than free checking. You get the freedom to bank when and where you want. Wells Fargo, the next stage.
Make your daily commute easy with breakfast or lunch at the Tamarack Junction. Enjoy daily specials, super fast service, and South Reno's freshest morning meals. Tamarack Junction, your junction for fun. South Virginia and Amati Ranch Parkway.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers with Sam Shad and Andy Engleman.
And we're back today with Senator John Ensign. Thank you very much for being with us.
Great to be with you.
All right, you mentioned that the president took away some votes from us on nuclear waste. Now, why should we support the president for re-election? And I know you're an honorary chairman of his re-election team. Why should we support this man who's sending nuclear waste to Nevada?
Well, first of all, we have to remember that he is representing the entire country. And there are, I mentioned before, 43 other states that are trying to bring nuclear waste to our state because they want to get it out of their state. His advisors, and I believe that they were wrong, but his advisors told him scientifically that Yucca Mountain is safe, scientifically that it's the best thing for us to do. Well, he's hired those, he's put those people in place, and he's trusting those advisors. I think that they're totally wrong, but that's a decision that he has made, and he felt like he made it. He listened to us, literally sat down with Senator Reid, and I sat down in the Oval Office, talked to him. He listened to us, he considered what we had to say, and then he listened to his advisors. I think it was wrong, but that's the way it was. But there are many other reasons that I believe it's important that we re-elect President Bush. I think that this global war on terror, when it hit in New York, everybody realized how significant it was and how vulnerable we were. But, you know, we're a little over 2 years now from September 11, 2001. People are getting a little forgetful. They don't realize, you know, well, it's
haven't
really
had another incident.
Exactly, and it's over there. Okay, It's in Iraq, it's in Afghanistan. It's not really here on our home soil. So they get a little complacent about the whole thing. This president understands that the reason it hasn't happened here is because we're going after them there. we're going after them where they are instead of allowing those attacks to happen on our soil.
All right, Senator, but this $87 billion appropriation, I believe it's coming up this week in the Senate. And there's a lot of people here in Nevada in particular that are sort of fed up with rebuilding Iraq when we have power outages because our infrastructure is falling apart here in this country. And they're fed up with the illegal aliens getting so much from America when nobody gives anything back to Americans, it seems like.
Well, when I'm looking at investing overseas, it should be in the interest of the United States. Is it in a vital U.S. American interest is the bottom line for me. This is absolutely in the vital U.S. American interest. 9/11 cost this country $1 trillion. $100 billion in direct costs to New York City. $100 billion. But $1 trillion to our economy. Look what happened to our state as far as tourist dollars and the whole airline industry, all of the
Well, we
things
shored up them. We gave them federal dollars. We shored up the airline industry.
Okay.
They don't want regulation. They only want the money.
Right. But the bottom line, and the point that I was making, is that $1 trillion versus the $87 billion, and even the money that we spent last year, if we can keep the next 9/11 from happening, it's a cheap investment. And that's really the way that we have to look at this, is that,
but
first of all,
building up Iraq's infrastructure will keep terrorism from America?
If we are able to build a stable democracy in the Middle East, it absolutely can go a long way toward winning this global war on terrorism. And by the way, this is just a small part of the global war on terrorism. This is a 10, 15, 20-year battle. We cannot be short-sighted, and that's why I think that the president has such a vision on this, is he understands it. He gets it.
But you were quoted as saying you were going to take a hard look at how that money was going to be spent.
Absolutely. There's about $1 billion of it we're going to offer amendments to cut out, because there were some things that were outrageous in there. But as far as the overall, building some of the infrastructure, I think is important. $5 billion of it is for police and security forces to be hired and trained in Iraq. The reason that's important is because the faster that we get them trained, the faster we can get our soldiers
our boys come home.
Exactly, and that's important.
We're running out of time, and there's so many things I want to talk to you about. No Child Left Behind. You came here to Nevada, you spoke to the legislature, you said, I'm going to bring some money, and people scoffed at that afterwards, and you have delivered. How much money is it now that is going to be coming? Well, I know that you've had appropriated for all the states.
Right. But it's not just all the states. The formulas that we got changed were the formulas for fast-growing states. Well, fast-growing states, every year we got left behind basically from the other states because they weren't using census data. They were using, matter of fact, we just found out one they were using that was 4 years old. Well, 4 years old to the state of Nevada, the fastest-growing state in the country, really hurts us literally by millions and millions of dollars a year to our educational system. So by getting these formulas changed, it's about the third different formula, because there's Title I, there's special education that they're funding formulas for. All of these federal programs, you have to change them every time that they come up, and we've been able to do that so that Nevada now is literally getting tens of millions of dollars more per year.
We're running into problems here in northern Nevada with schools that aren't faring quite so well. They're in poor districts, and they have a lot of problems, and the teachers are very nervous about even being in these schools because they're afraid they're going to get a failing grade and it will be in their record. Is there something in the No Child Left Behind that can be done to calm these teachers down? Nobody wants to teach at these schools that might get a failing grade.
Well, bottom line is we can't afford to leave those children in those failing schools. People don't like the fact that we're holding schools accountable now. I make no apologies for that. We cannot say to somebody that's going to one of these failing schools, to a parent or a child, that, you know what, we're gonna dumb down the grading system. We're not gonna hold you accountable because we don't want you to feel bad about it. No, the bottom line is we got to improve those schools. If they are failing, we give them extra money for 3 years. We put them on probation, we give them extra money for 3 years. Gives them the chance to get better. But at the end of that, if they still are not meeting the standards, then those parents will have the opportunity to send their kid to other public schools. It's school choice. I'd like it more than just public schools, but that's what we got in the bill. So we don't want to just leave them in a failing school. We want the parents to have the choice to be able to let their kid achieve success, and that's the bottom line of No Child Left Behind. We don't want to leave a single child behind.
But what about the teachers?
Well, the teachers, we're giving them all kinds of resources to get better training. That was a big part of the bill, was to make sure that we have experts teaching. We also, for instance, if you're teaching math, you should be an expert in math, okay? Not in education, not in social studies, you should be a math teacher. And so we're putting in all kinds of professional development money for the teachers to become experts in the subjects in which they teach.
Okay, and we're almost running out of time, so two quickly things. Vets, you've been doing a lot for veterans.
Yes. Well, the biggest thing is, just recently, I'm on the Veterans Affairs Committee, and once again, this has to do with funding formulas. The Northeast, the Rust Belt, basically, all the veterans were there. All the VA hospitals were there. Well, now the veterans have moved to the Southwest and to the Sunshine States, but the VA hospitals haven't moved with them. We got funding formula changed recently that's going to allow a new VA hospital down in Southern Nevada, but in Elko we're going to get a VA clinic that's so desperately needed. So we're very excited about that.
Great.
The whole state of Nevada is going to do better under these new formulas.
We're just about out of time. I need a prediction on tomorrow's recall election in California. Who do you think is going to win?
Well, by all indications, I think overwhelmingly Gray Davis is going to be tossed out of office, and then I think that by maybe a fairly healthy margin that Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Terminator, will be the next governor of California.
Every Republican we've had on the show in the last week has made that very same prediction.
Well,
isn't that amazing?
That's what the polls look like, but you never know. Polls can be deceptive.
If you need some help from Senator Ensign's office, his number in Reno is 686-5770, and we'll be right back.
Big Apple Pizza, best pizza in Nevada, take one.
Today we're making homemade meatballs for a meatball parm. You like cheesesteak? I think you're like in South Philly right now. It's the best cheese ever made. Now that's how a Philly cheesesteak's supposed to look.
And here's Little Cole.
This is authentic. We'll throw some pepperoni in here. Not gonna be shy about it. I bet you guys didn't know I could do that. Don't skimp on the toppings. Authentic as it gets. Big Apple Pizza and Subs on the corner of Bering and McCarran. A New Jersey guy who knows how to make an East Coast pizza.
Nevada Newsmakers, brought to you in part by Charter Communication.
Sam's back tomorrow. See you then.